It's kind of takes a practice, you know. It's not like it took me some practice.
Oh, I'm sure, because I mean, right now I tried to practice when I was younger, and if I kept working on it, maybe something close to that. I don't know. Maybe it'd just be a
I'm
flash.
pretty sure you would.
Yeah, it looked like a Rorschach or something. Just everything just slaughtered. Do you now? What's your parent now? Is there anybody else in the family that has like this artistic ability of drawing?
I mean, I wouldn't say so. Most of them are kind of mathematics, engineers, business, that kind of people. So nobody in my family has shown any artistic abilities, I'd say.
So would you say they draw like me, worse, or?
Well, I haven't asked them to draw, so.
You've never seen them draw at all?
No. I mean, except for the formulas, you know.
Oh, right, yeah. So now you're in a whole bunch of competitions, right? You go international.
Yes.
You actually tell West Springfield about the awards you've won, the competitions you've been in.
I mean, it would be hard to say that within our program time.
Right. But the major ones.
The major one, you mentioned one in 2002, the Guinness Book of World Records.
Right.
Then there was contest River of Worth. That was in 2003 when I was invited to the Washington D.C. And that time I was back living in Russia, so that was pretty exciting. And that was affiliated with the Library of Congress.
Yeah.
And there were other competitions internationally that I won.
So now do you use a plethora of different paintings, or do you just, when you go into competition, do you just focus on one painting and then you like enter those all into the competition?
I mean, basically right now I kind of stopped when I feel like I already got so many times in these competitions. Right now I have to develop more myself as an individual artist and have this exhibits worldwide, so that's what I do.
Now, because your paintings, you have really good artistic ability, there's no question. I mean, you've been winning competitions and stuff. Now, all around your house, people buy pictures and stuff like that. They go to your local store to buy, pictures to hang up and stuff. Your paintings are so good, do your parents just like take your paintings and just hang them around your house? Do you like have just your paintings hang up in your room, or do you just buy them from somewhere else? Like, how does that work?
At first, I'm going to tell you an anecdote. Somebody comes to Picasso's house and asks him, "Wow, you're a good painter. Why there is no paintings made by yourself in your house?" And he says, "It's too expensive. I can't afford it." Well, I'm not at that stage right now, but basically, I have my paintings around the house.
Really? So now, do you have a lot of people now? Private collectors and stuff, do they actually buy your paintings and stuff?
I mean, yes, I work with the galleries, museums in New York City, in Boston, and in the area. So yes, I do some paintings.
So now what what kind of famous painters do you know? I mean, I'm not really big in the painting industry. I don't know really.
You mean living painters?
Yeah, living painters. Obviously, you're not hanging out with Modigliani and Picasso and stuff.
Yeah, they're dead already. I mean, I know some few famous painters such as Mark Dion. He is a professor at the Columbia University.
Oh, he's a teacher at Columbia University?
Yes, and he shows in New York very well. So there are, could give you names, but I don't think that would resonate with some people.
Yeah, I wouldn't understand anyway. I mean, do you like now painters, some people when they're like skateboarding, if they're good at skateboarding, they all skateboard together. Do you guys like all together like sometimes hang out and paint?
That's actually a good comparison between sports. I do that a lot. I play tennis actually as well, but not professionally.
Well, you're too busy, breaking records. I got it.
Yes, but there's a lot of competition in arts. But yes, there's some community, and it's very nice having people by side who also understand art and who could help you with advices.
Yeah.
So definitely.
So what do you do in your spare time when you're not painting? I mean, because when people are in their spare time, they're actually painting. So don't tell me you're painting and then in your spare time you're painting too. That seems like too much painting for one person.
I mean, yes, I do that. I have too much painting, I feel sometimes, for one person. But having this exhibits at the same time, going at the University of Hartford, and having some other activities, I'm quite busy.
What other activities do you do?
I mean, as I told you, I play tennis.
Right, yeah, you play tennis.
I mean, as all normal people, read books, go to cinema, come to the Crepes Tea House sometimes.
Yeah.
Having fun here. So.
Do you travel a lot, right? Because your paintings and stuff like that.
Yes.
So do you
I
have
just came back from New York City.
yesterday, right?
Yes.
So do you have a girlfriend or anything like? How does the relationships work?
Well, let's not go into that theme.
Well,
But
okay.
quite good.
Right, yeah. So now do you meet a lot of? You must meet a lot of people and exchange phone numbers and like.
I have to.
Talk about different paintings and stuff like that. What other now? Is there like what form of painting is this? Because there's different styles and types of painting and stuff like that, right?
I'd say, as I told that probably earlier, it's a figurative painting that
Right,
I do. I do use some expressionist movements, so basically, I don't make everything tight, all the strokes, because I think it goes with my conceptual, and I do the paintings from referencing the 19th century, and a lot of information had been lost. So it has to be shown through the painting as well.
Okay, now you just threw a whole bunch of terminology that I don't even know what you're talking about, and I don't know if anyone in Westside knows what he's talking about either. So when you say figurative paintings, you're talking about figures, like
People,
people,
narrative and many circumstances. So,
narrative painting?
Yes.
Now what's narrative painting?
So basically, there's a story behind it. It's not just an
like
apple.
a narrator.
It's not just an apple. There's a story behind it. And in many cases, I don't fully tell the story, so I give some option for people to decide. I'm basically feeling that I'm sort of like the journalist from that time, and bringing up these pictures and showing that to the audience for them to decide and judge.
Okay, so you don't necessarily have a story with your pictures.
I do.
Oh, you do have a story with your
Yes.
paintings.
But I'm not telling people.
Right, you're not telling people, so you kind of use symbolism and
Exactly.
in your pictures and stuff like that.
For example, here I'm going to give a small example.
Right.
For example, here there's like two pretty girls. Actually, these girls are daughters of the Nicholas II, Tsar of Russia, who was killed during the revolution of the 1914. And behind there is like a dead bull. And if you could go further, right here.
Oh, that's a bull?
Yes.
Okay.
So there is certain symbolisms that I use in paintings, definitely.
So, I mean, do you look up a lot? You must be big on, are you big on history too? Because
I like history a lot, yes.
Yeah, because history and painting kind of go hand in hand, Because a lot of paintings, well, like Michelangelo and stuff like that. There's a lot of history behind his paintings and stuff like that. So
I mean, yes, especially was in the period of Renaissance, when church was the main consumer for the art.
yeah.
And they commissioned basically religious paintings, and people at that time, they couldn't read.
Yeah.
So for them, that was their cinema, that's where their entertainment. They could tell the story how a church was great through the paintings that these people produced.
Now, do you think you could redo the 16th chapel and make it better? Or?
Well, if you give me enough space, as Michelangelo had, I'll think about it.
Yeah, he actually, I don't really know the history on Michelangelo, but he actually, on the 16th chapel inside a church, he painted inside, I'm asking you, I have no idea. He painted inside the top of the, what would you call that?
On the ceiling.
It's a ceiling? Okay,
I mean,
I don't know
yes.
if they had like a special name for it or anything like that, like an arch.
Our arches and ceilings, walls, yes.
There's nothing special, like,
I wouldn't have a special name for that.
so it's just a ceiling.
Yes.
Okay. Now you're actually having a gallery happening. You talked about this, I think, a little bit.
Yes.
It's the art exhibit. Now, it says, are you going to be the only one there? How many painters are going to be there? Is it like a...
It's a solo exhibit, so I'm going to be only me. And there's going to be a lot of paintings, but presented from this collection. I think there's going to be about 25, 30
Of your paintings?
Yes. And it's going to be, the title of the exhibit is Age of Empires. And I'm going to, as I told you, being this journalist from the 19th century, bring these paradoxical images from that time.
So, do you... so, the JCC in Springfield Jewish Community Center is actually hosting the paintings.
Their gallery. It's going to be in their gallery, and I had exhibit there 3 years ago. It was quite successful, so we're having that again this year.
Right. Now, do you do? Now, what size of kind of paintings do you do? Like, do you do really small to what's generally the size of? painting you do?
The size, I'd say the average would be about 24 by 36, but I do smaller and I do as big as like 4 by 6 feet.
Mm-hmm. Now, do your parents, like, when they want new art inside the house or whatever, they're like, Stass, can you please paint us something? Or you get in trouble if you don't?
I mean, that never happened to me, so they were quite flexible with it.
Right, but I thought you were forced when you were younger to do painting.
No, I wasn't.
I thought you said you're like it was kind of you were kind of forced to either paint.
No. I mean, of course, my parents want me to be busy with school,
Right.
and not doing some bad stuff like drugs and that kind of stuff. Of course, they want me to be busy, and
Right.
that's obvious.
Now,
But they didn't push me.
Well, that's good. That's good. So do you consider doing you see yourself doing this for the basically the rest of your life? This is like your career. I mean, this is.
This is. I might in the future move to New York City because that's where the art world capital, basically, and so that's my plan.
Now, New York City is actually the art world capital of the world, like the world, or the United States?
No, I would say the world. I mean, London is pretty big as well. Berlin is actually getting a little bigger as well right now.
Now, I'm surprised like Paris isn't big on art or anything.
No, after it's all gone basically. It's the history again. After the World War II, Europe was poor. It was broke down. They didn't have money for art, so all art world moved to New York, and people like Marc Chagall, for example, and Salvador Dali, they all lived in New York after that. And people like Jackson Pollock, who probably.
I heard of that name. The other names just out one ear.
So Jackson Pollock was one of these big names that came out from this New York school after 1950s.
What's your favorite painter? Who is your favorite painter?
Well, it's I got this question a lot. I would not answer it. I like Rubens. I feel he's one of the big painters. Now I'd say Gerhard Richter and Murat. That's two big German artists.
I have no idea.
They're here in New York. They just had a huge exhibit at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City.
Oh, really? Have you ever been to, when I was going to school in Boston, you do any shows or anything at the Boston Museum of Fine Arts? Because I've been there. That was
Not
right
yet,
next to my
hopefully in the
school.
future.
Yeah, because that museum is actually humongous and
It's
filled
big.
with so much art. So now you were saying you do the narrative. You also do the figurative paintings. But how many different types of styles of painting are there?
There's thousands, millions, nobody knows.
Yeah.
So,
like, how do you label it? How do you know, well, this is figurative? How do
figurative,
you know?
where there's a person, that's it.
Okay.
If there's a person, that's figurative. If there's something is not natural, not realistic, you call it abstract. That's it.
That's
And
all I
there's like, if you see a lot of movement in the work, like brush strokes, it's usually called expressive.
Brush strokes.
Yes, like this, for example.
Those are brush strokes?
Yes.
How can you tell if it's like brush strokes or like?
I mean, you can see that when you look on the painting.
True. Like, what are the different ways? Like, I'm so bad in art. Like, I wouldn't know the difference if you use like your finger or anything like that. But they use.
I do sometimes.
You do use your finger.
But rarely. Mostly brushes and palette knives. Yeah.
Now, what kind of different paints are there? I mean, you got your oil paints, and you got your.
Yeah, there is. I mean, the more basic ones, of course, like oil, acrylic, watercolor, tempera.
You ever use crayons?
When I was a kid, yeah.
Okay, well, you don't use crayons anymore? Like, the crayons, like when you're eating food and you're just bored and they give you those menus and you just start. Is that how you started? You were just
Basically, actually.
writing on a menu and. Is that how it started?
It's almost this way. I took my mom's lipstick and drew it in the refrigerator. So.
I took my mom's lipstick too, but that was for different reasons.
Okay.
Go on.
But I wouldn't know that.
Yeah,
right?
you don't.
Yeah.
So go on with the lipstick.
Yeah, so they saw that I'm kind of liking it, so they made me stop damaging property and gave me pencils and pens and paper.
Yeah.
And that's the way it started.
Well, what were you drawing on with the lipstick? Like
Well,
just
I
the
don't
walls?
Yes.